Jeff and Jeremy.
How long?
Would you say?
How long can you till you wait till like these guys that got drafted in the later rounds of the NFL draft? Can you buy their jerseys? Like if you get a jersey made, like I want to get a Gardner Minshew jersey for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, okay.
And I might be a Jaguars fan because I do think that he's a better quarterback than Nick Foles, and will end up having the job someday. Probably not this year, but
why not this year?
Yeah, because they have other quarterbacks on the roster as well. Like Cody Kessler's on the roster.
As long as he doesn't have to play in the snow. I think that's what was the funniest comment I saw.
That's why Jacksonville was the perfect landing spot for him.
It had to be a stupid Husky fan that probably wrote this. Actually, no, because I clicked on his profile because I was stalking him and I was going to troll him. But I didn't. He was a Bruins fan.
Slid his tires.
Yeah, he was a Bruins fan.
Well, he's just right down in Westwood. So.
Referring to the one bad game he had last year where in the Apple Cup it snowed several inches during the game. He literally had an inch on top of his helmet.
It wasn't even
the quarterback
snow,
from the south could
ice.
not. It couldn't operate. Couldn't get it done.
A throwing quarterback in an ice storm could not.
It was snow.
Well, yeah, but did you see once it hit the field, it was just turning to ice. It was just chunks of ice on the field.
And of course, Gardner Minshew. I'm sure a lot of people are like, who is this
you
person?
will. You will.
You will know who he is.
You will know who he is.
He is the former Washington State University quarterback from 2018.
Yes.
18. So, anyways, I don't know what the answer to your question is. You have to have it custom made. I mean, I'm sure they're not selling any.
Do we even know what his number is going to be?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't know any of that. What was he, 16? I think when he was with the Cougs.
I mean, there's a possibility he could get cut. I mean, I was looking at the quarterbacks on the roster, and it was guys that Cody Kessler is on the roster. Alex Magoo. Remember Magoo? He was the backup quarterback for the Seahawks.
Yeah. You know what is a great story about Gardner Minshew, who got drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars at, I think, 137. He was the 137th player picked up over the weekend in the NFL draft. He was going to go to Bama, and he was just going to, be this guy that, really didn't get to play and maybe become a player coach and then a coach. And his playing career was over until Mike Leach called him up from Washington State and said, hey, listen, I know this is your plan, but if you want to start, I need a quarterback. And now he's an NFL player. I mean, what a cool story.
It is a cool story because not only that, I mean, before going to Alabama, he'd kicked it around at some community colleges, went and played at East Carolina, and then was transferring from East Carolina to Alabama so he could work in football. He just wanted to work in football. So he was going to be a backup.
He probably made peace with the fact that he wasn't going to play football anymore.
He was going to be a backup, and that's it. And he was hoping to possibly get into coaching through having played football at Alabama, learn something from Nick Saban, learn something from these guys, and then he ends up going and learning something from Mike Leach, and then ends up getting an NFL.
Am I crazy to think that he might go down as one of the greatest coaching minds of all time?
Mike Leach?
Yeah. I mean, when it's all said and done and his career is over.
I'll say one of the more eclectic. I'm not going to say best, but I'm going to say eclectic, and in a good way, obviously, because the problem is he's only offense. That's all he thinks about.
Well, they had pretty good defense,
well,
though.
The defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
That's what, like
some coaches are defense coach.
But that's why defensive coordinators come into Washington State and they either get fired or they move on to somewhere else, another job somewhere else.
As a head coach.
Or as next in line for a head coach, just because it's, it's very secondary. I mean, the offense is the number one thing, and it makes for the most exciting brand of football. That is why ESPN schedules, or not ESPN, but the NCAA will work their schedule to where they're playing night games on Saturday nights because it is primetime worthy. It is fun to watch the Cougars play football. And unlike the Huskies, who are boring as hell. They are, but they are.
Subscribe to the Jeff and Jeremy podcast now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. It's your Central Coast commute-friendly podcast.